What's up guys, it's David here. Today I'd like to talk about my experience of learning English. I'm currently a junior majoring in English language and literature at Fudan University. My journey of learning English started when I was very little. My mom told me about it because I can't recall at all. When I was a little kid, I went to a cram school called Michael George or Mick George. I don't even remember the name. According to my mom, I made some friends there and some of them are still in touch with me until now, although none of us remember anything during the time in the cram school. So the earliest memory I have about learning English is when I learned English at Asus, which is another language cram school. But this time I remember the details. This cram school was totally different from the other ones in Taiwan, in my opinion. The teachers are all from the States or Canada and are very strict about students' speaking skills. That include our grammar, fluency, and pronunciation. I remember back then we had to use a tape recorder to record our speaking assignments, and the students' parents are asked to stay in the classroom along with the whole procedure of class and use a voice recorder pen to have a recording of the class. I only stayed in a cram school for less than a year, but I believe that was when I started to acquire English language. Now comes the most important part of my English learning journey. I went to the States with my grandpa during the summer vacation after I graduated from elementary school. Yes, that was 10 years ago. I spent 2 months living with my aunt and cousins. I went shopping with them, watched TV shows, and hung out with our neighbor's family. I had a great time there, and I think that was when I started to really fall in love with English language, since I was surrounded by the language and its culture. Note that my English was so poor that I couldn't even order a meal at McDonald's back then. After coming back to Taiwan, I was fortunate enough to meet my mentor in English. Duncan was my English teacher during my learning in junior high school. Thanks to his well-organized handouts and other teaching materials and activities, I was able to have a firm foundation in terms of English vocabulary, grammar, and listening. My speaking skills were clearly not very good at that time. That did not improve through my student's life in senior high school. Come on, let's just be honest. We don't have the chance to speak up in the class because teachers need to prepare us with test-taking techniques, right? The GSAT won't test our speaking ability. And I know that for many people, including me, myself, speaking is one of the nightmares they encounter in the process of English learning. Don't worry, it's the same for me. I know that feeling when you want to practice speaking skills. You go search online for advice and people online are talking about, watching Netflix series in English with or without subtitles, finding an English novel and reading it out loud, or what? Asking your friends to practice with you. I think that's actually the dumbest one, Like, I've seen few people practice English by doing that. Only for those whose speaking skills are already very near to native can practice English speaking like that. But when you find a friend who's as unconfident as you when speaking English, you guys definitely don't know what to say. You know what I mean? It would be like, hey, let's talk in English for 10 minutes, and it remains silence for 10 minutes. I wouldn't say I'm capable of communicating in English until receiving 3 years of training in college. As you guys know, I'm an English major. I need to practice to speak English if I want to graduate. I'm glad that I made the choice to major in English. This decision not only helps me cultivate my English skills, but better understand the world. I believe the most important criterion of saying I am capable of communicating in a foreign language is that you are confident when using the language to communicate. For me, confidence has always been the key to the success of my learning of English speaking. So for those who are afraid. Build an environment where you can only communicate in English better with others who have the same goal as you, but not randomly find a friend and ask them to practice. You'll feel uncomfortable when you speak, and that means you are improving your speaking. So that wraps up my story of learning English and some little suggestion for those who want to learn English but are afraid to start. Remember, accents, grammar, and those stuff are not important at all. Try your best to deliver what's in your mind in English with the support of gestures. As the time goes on, I promise you will gain confidence, and confidence will lead you to success eventually.